Welcome to the Personal Pension Radio Podcast, where it's all about helping you complete your financial journey to retirement. Discover time-tested strategies and get unconventional insights into wealth building and retirement that actually work. Break away from the herd and go for the retirement you dream of. And now, here's your host, the income engineer, Kraig Strom.
All right, here we go. Personal Pension Radio, just a week or so before Christmas, Hanukkah, whatever great holiday thing you are celebrating. I hope you're having a fantastic time wherever you are in the world. Hello out there in podcast land, probably in a car, on a Peloton bike, walking, running, taking the dog for a ride. Who knows? Love that you're listening, and I really appreciate all of the feedback. Been getting lots of emails. I love the reviews on iTunes and on iHeartMedia and all that great stuff. So thank you so much. Yes, you heard it. I am the income engineer broadcasting from the Personal Pension Radio Workshop here in Southern California. The workshop is actually my wood shop, my project shop. I am in full-blown project mode for Christmas woodworking gifts. I've decided that I would make basically 4 or 5 gifts for who knows who at this point. I just start making them and get all excited because the weather's cold and the sawdust starts flying, and next thing you know, I'm making Christmas presents for people I haven't officially identified. I know one of them is my mom for sure, and the rest we'll see. Maybe I'll have to do a lottery of folks that I love the most. Now, my mission is that retirement dream, is to deliver that retirement dream that Wall Street promised. And Wall Street never quite closed the loop on retirement income planning. That is the key, retirement income planning. Just this week, I talked to a number of people, 3, 4 different people, and they all had this accumulation mindset that is just ingrained into our thinking thanks to the marketing machine that is banks and Wall Street. That the solution, the marketing machine says the solution to retirement income is save or invest more money. Save or invest more money. That's the solution. Wrong. That is part of the strategy that leads to maximum retirement income. Retirement income economics are completely different than accumulation economics. So that's where my specialty came from. That's where my registered trademark as the income engineer came from. It was born out of this idea that a product does not fix retirement income. Optimizing retirement income does not happen with investments or life insurance or 401ks. It doesn't happen with any one of those things. It happens with an integrated approach that will include everything, including reverse mortgage potentially, Roth IRAs, life insurance, 401k, investments. All of those things balanced correctly means that you can actually have a light at the end of that retirement tunnel so that you can know you've got an option. Now, I want to jump in my usual disclosure because I am going to get right to it today. Got a lot to cover. You saw the title of this episode, Key Steps to Retirement Income Planning. That sounds like a pretty deep dive. It is. So we're definitely going to get right into it. Now, my disclosure, somebody asked me about this. Why do you have so many disclosures? Well, I only have really technically 2 disclosures. I put one in the middle, actually technically at the beginning of the show. And then I have one at the end that my wonderful British friend that I found on Fiverr recorded for me several years ago. The reason I have disclosures is because I am a licensed, regulated, certified financial planner and investment advisor representative and a licensed life insurance advisor. On top of all of that, I'm a paralegal, so I have lots of oversight. I am legit, basically. That's why I have disclosures. I am not a financial entertainer, someone who is able to just say whatever the heck they want, whenever they want, about whatever topic in the financial world or legal world that they want to, because they operate under free speech. Now, I believe strongly in free speech. However, it does bug the holy heck out of me that folks like, my friend Dave and others are able to throw out financial advice, and in some cases they throw out legal advice. I can't believe the legal profession allows such a thing, but that they throw out legal advice and financial advice, estate planning advice, charitable advice, all of this stuff, and they do it all under freedom of speech. They have no regulatory oversight, no licensing, no real background in that area that qualifies them to give out that advice. And yet, there they are, giving out the advice. So the answer, long answer to why I have two different disclosures is that I am a certified financial planner professional. I'm not an attorney. I'm not a CPA. As cool as all that might be, please don't act on things that you hear on my show as if you're hearing advice for you and your specific situation. Especially don't act on things that you hear from financial entertainers on radio, podcast, TV. Please meet with a qualified financial planner. And yes, virtually, right? My hand is raised. Both hands are raised. I would love to be that financial planner. I work with folks and meet with folks all over the country through the miracles of technology. We can do Zoom meetings, phone meetings, Facebook chats. I work with folks all over the place. You can get in touch with me always, Kraig with a K, Kraig, at kraigstrom.com. Quick shout out to Lillian in Virginia. Merry Christmas out there, Lillian. Lillian and I had an opportunity to chat recently. She's a listener out there in Virginia and love the questions. Lillian, you have a fantastic story, and I'd love to chat with you again. I look forward to it. Really appreciate it. Hello out there in Virginia. Now, my deal of the week. This is the just about 10 days to Christmas, the 10-day mark to Christmas 2019. So deal of the week is kind of out the door. Well, not really for me. I still bargain hunt. I bargain hunt all the time. The reason that my podcast is actually late getting out, I generally try and have a podcast episode every week and a half to 2 weeks. That seems to be my flow lately. And the reason that it's late is that my iPad 3, yes, you heard me right, I'm recording this podcast on my iPad 3. That's what, like 400 years ago in iPad land, right? So iPad 3 stopped working with my podcast studio app. It stopped working. I tried to update the app. Of course, the app doesn't exist anymore, and the new version does not work with the iPad 3. So I had to go through a complete backup and to figure out how to get my iPad to back up with my Windows 10 software, yada, yada, yada. It was a bit of a drama. The good news is I was able to backdate the software on my computer so that it would update my iPad, so that I was then able to clean off my podcast studio app, and whammo, for free, with a little extra work, I am still working on my iPad 3, and it's working perfectly. So that's my deal of the week. Before you jump out to Best Buy to go replace that piece of tech, or to, again, you heard me a long time ago, my TV went out on the fritz, and I fixed my discount TV with a $60 part from Amazon, and I fixed it myself, and sure enough, that TV's still working, hanging on the wall. I didn't need to buy a brand new TV for about $60. I fixed it in less than 20 minutes. It was awesome. So my iPad, still running. That's my deal of the week. Before you go out and just spend money on something, double check. See if you might actually be able to fix it. Now, segment 1, watch your step. Last time, I shared a story just, of course, about how not to get sucked into the retail hype, right? Take a step back from Google and from all of the crazy retail and the Amazons and everything. And remember not to lose your mind as you pull out your wallet to pay for something. Please take a quick look around. You just need to Google it, right? Google's going to hit you with advertising everywhere, left, right, center. Amazon's going to hit you left, right, center. But if you just take a quick minute, just take a quick look. I did that just recently. I was in a store that I'd never been in before. I went into Tractor Supply. I've never been in there before, and I was grabbing a product. And why not? I whipped out my phone. I zapped it on my Amazon app just out of curiosity. Actually, my Google. I just looked it up on Google, and Google pulls up the prices on, dozens of different websites and stores. And actually, the price at Tractor Supply was really good. I grabbed it, bought it, out the door. I double checked. It took me all of 20 seconds really to check the price to make sure that I wasn't drastically overpaying. So please take a moment. Preserve maybe 20, 30% of your cash sometimes if you actually take a quick double check. Now, in the Watch Your Steps segment, this is an area that I started in the show a long time ago when I really first started. I wanted to give you, hopefully, information to help you take a step back from just life in general and make sure that you are not, missing things that could be risky for you, missing things that you really should be paying attention to or watching out for. So hence, watch your step. This time I do want to touch on asset protection. And it made me think of this, that in the holiday times, we have lots of people oftentimes coming over to our house. It could be the UPS driver, the FedEx driver, the postal worker. You could have friends, family, parties, gatherings, all of those things happening, coming to your house. Please understand that every single time someone comes to your front door, that is a potential liability. I know it's not holiday Christmas friendly to think about people coming to your front door as a liability, but I do want you to realize that every time somebody comes to your door or crosses your threshold or goes in your backyard to mow the lawn, that is a huge potential liability. That is asset protection awareness. Folks, please pay attention to this. This is actually, I'm going to share a quick true story. Nobody imagines these things can ever happen to them. I talk to folks who say, and I ask, so why is it that you only have $2 million on your umbrella liability insurance, right? And I asked this question actually of someone recently. They run a very, very productive company. They make a lot of money in their company. It's very, very valuable. And they had $2 million of umbrella liability on their home. And I said, why is it that you only have $2 million of umbrella when you're running a $50 million company? $2 million of personal umbrella coverage, and they run a $50 million company. And guess who owns the $50 million company? Yeah, they do. They own the $50 million company personally, but they have $2 million of coverage on their umbrella policy. And you know what the basic answer was? They figured there's no way they would ever get sued for more than $2 million. No way. That's what we think. We are just normal human beings. We think that's impossible. There's no way we're going to get sued for more than $2 million or $3 million. Generally, people get as much insurance as they think, oh, that's as much as it will ever be. I'll never get sued for that much. Absolutely true story of clients at our law firm who had thought that way. They thought that exact same way that normal human beings think. We won't get sued for that much. We were successful in convincing them to build out all of their insurance protection properly, to build out their legal protections properly. And sadly, something happened at one of their rental properties. They had rental properties. They had a tenant where something terrible happened. A small child was injured, terribly injured, by a piece of shelving that gave way and a large television set fell on the child. This had nothing to do with our client. Our client purchased the house. The house already had shelving. There's no way to know that the shelving was defective. You can't know all of these things. There was just no way to know it. The shelf gave way, terribly injured the young girl. The legal judgment in the civil case against our client was $25 million. These are just average folks. $25 million judgment because that little girl is permanently injured. Thank goodness. This client of ours was properly protected. They will not lose their livelihood. They will not lose all of their assets that they have saved and worked so hard for. It is a terrible, terrible story. I share it with you, yes, to be dramatic, to say, if you have not had an asset protection review with someone like myself that focuses on this as a significant priority in the financial planning process, I'm raising my hand. Send me an email, Kraig at kraigstrom.com, Kraig at Kraig, Kraig Strom.com. All right, now, I want to visit something today that I looked back on my podcast. This is 218 episodes, and I looked back on my podcast, and I was just thinking through some things, and I realized just one of the people that really inspires me still today in my thinking and in the way that I approach retirement income planning is Dr. Wade Pfau. Dr. Wade Pfau is an economist. He is actually head of faculty at the American College. He's also, you can also find him at retirementresearcher.com. Retirementresearcher.com. I was thinking back on Dr. Pfau, and his name is Wade, Dr. Wade Pfau. He's actually been interviewed by me on this podcast early on. If you ever want to listen to two of those interviews, you can go back and search for Dr. Pfau, P-F-A-U. He's been interviewed by me on this podcast twice. So as I reminisced back over the podcast, kind of that year-end thinking and process, I thought, and I went back and I looked at Dr. Pfau's just tons and tons of material and information. And this one article that he had written caught my eye. And I thought as a tribute and just to, again, pay tribute to Dr. Pfau, that I would just share some of the highlights of his article, Revisiting the Key Pillars of Retirement Income. So the name of the article is Revisiting the Key Pillars of Retirement Income from Dr. Wade Pfau. You can actually find this in many other articles, books, reports written by Dr. Pfau at retirementresearcher.com. So Dr. Pfau starts off by saying this. Again, the key pillars of retirement income, which is, again, what inspires me in my specialty as a retirement income planner. Number one, play the long game. A retirement income should be based, an income plan should be based on planning to live rather than planning to die. When I read this, I thought back, this is, 17 years ago. I met a new client in a retirement community, and I referenced a gentleman sitting out on the porch across the street. As I was meeting with this new client, I mentioned this gentleman who seemed to be very friendly. He had waved at me when I came in, and the client said, "Oh, yes, that's Bob." "Oh, okay. Well, what's Bob's story? He seems to be pretty happy." And my client, she said, "I don't know how Bob is so dang happy. About 10 years ago, he was diagnosed with cancer." I said, "Wow, that's terrible." She said, "Yeah, he was given less than 2 years to live, maybe even a year." And I said, wow, he made it a long ways. And she said, "Yeah, but he spent all of his money. He gave his money away. He spent it. He had planned to die and now lives on a meager existence of barely getting by, with his increasing space rent at his senior living mobile home park." Okay? Plan to live. Play the long game. Dr. Pfau goes on to say this: there are many efficiencies that can be gained from a long-term focus. That's a key, the long-term focus. When you plan to live longer, right, you want to make sure that you are developing a plan that incorporates the efficiencies that will not be realized until later. That is so important, folks, right? You've got to make sure that you have a long-term approach, because not taking such a long-term efficiency improving actions, right? Improving efficiencies, making sure that you're using your assets properly and in a strategy that puts everything together will lead you to a reduced standard of living in the future. Now, Dr. Faust says that some strategies that he has discussed and mentioned focus on building long-term plans over accepting short-term expediencies. Things like delaying the start of Social Security. Maybe, hear this, purchasing a single premium immediate annuity. What the heck is that? A single premium immediate annuity is an annuity from an insurance company. An annuity, by the way, the definition is a series of systematic and equal payments over a set period of time. That's what an annuity is. And by the way, Social Security, by definition, is an annuity payment. Pensions from government agencies and companies, pensions are an annuity payment. Those are annuity payments. In this case, Dr. Fowl references starting Social Security benefits a little later, using a single premium immediate annuity, right, to pay, to actually give you income today to cover living expenses. How about paying a bit more on taxes today in order to enjoy more tax beneficial income in the future? How about making home renovations and living arrangements with the idea of supporting, hear this, aging in place? I had someone ask me recently, what about this reverse mortgage thing? Could we get a reverse mortgage on our house today? And I said, well, yes, you could, but I personally believe that would be a bad idea. Because you heard what Dr. Faust says that I referenced just a moment ago. Aging in place. Reverse mortgages should only be set up, in my opinion, on your forever home. What is a forever home? It is a single-story home that has a level entry that you can get your rascal scooter in the front door or in the garage, through the garage, right? I'm serious. Think about this. If you're 85 years old, do you really want a 15-step walk up? Do you want a big giant house with a backyard and a pool and landscaping and things that you can fall in a hole somewhere in the backyard when your hip gives out? Of course not. Aging in place is about making the right home decision, right? Getting the right real estate is important, right? That's important. Now, Dr. Fowl goes on to say another pillar of retirement income planning is don't leave money on the table. The holy grail, he says, of retirement income planning is finding strategies that enhance retirement efficiency. He defines efficiency such that if one strategy simultaneously allows for more lifetime spending and or a greater legacy value for assets relative to another, then it is more efficient. Hear that again. The holy grail of retirement income planning is finding strategies that enhance retirement efficiency, defined by, right, efficiency such that one strategy simultaneously allows for more lifetime spending and or greater legacy value for assets relative to another. That is more efficient. Makes total sense, right? Take out any marketing hype. That makes total sense. And that is what I personally believe. Love that. Efficiency does have to be defined from the perspective of how long one lives. Okay? That's a key takeaway. Now, another pillar, use reasonable expectations for portfolio returns. Use reasonable expectations for portfolio returns. A key lesson for long-term financial planning is that you should not expect to earn the average historical market returns for your portfolio. I've got to throw him in there as my last podcast for 2019. This is where Dave Ramsey falls big time. You cannot go into retirement income planning scenarios using some ridiculous 8 to 12% average rate of return over blah, blah, blah time. That is completely wrong. And Professor Dr. Wade Pfau says, a key lesson for long-term financial planning is that you should not expect to earn the average historical market returns for your portfolio. The average is just that. Half the time it is more and half the time it is less. Beyond this, we have been experiencing a period of historically low interest rates, which unfortunately provides a clear suggestion that at least investment returns are going to be lower in the future. This has important ramifications for those who have retired, right? And Dr. Pfau goes on to say this as well. At the very least, dismiss any retirement projection based on 8 to 12% returns, as the reality is likely much less when you account for volatility and inflation and the desire to develop a plan that will work more than half the time. Okay? That is so important. Now, the next pillar. Be careful about plans that only work with high market returns. So I'm going to stop here and give you an example. Someone was sharing a life insurance pitch that they received recently. And for those who are new to the show, I'm a huge life insurance fan. I think that properly designed cash value life insurance is an awesome component to an overall plan, an overall financial plan. I think properly done, cash value life insurance is excellent. Now, this person had actually been pitched a type of life insurance that I am not a big fan of. And they were pitched at this insurance with this great market rate of return participation. It was awesome. And my suggestion immediately was go back and request a lower projected return. Lower projected return in that same product looks very different. Of course it will, because of all the other miscellaneous things included. But Dr. Pfau says, be careful about plans that only work with a high market return. The natural mathematical formula that applies to retirement planning is that higher assumed future market returns imply higher sustainable spending rates. That's not true, folks. You can't rely on that stuff in retirement income scenarios. It is so important. Income scenarios are very, very different. For retirees, the fundamental nature of risk is the threat that poor market returns trigger a permanently lower standard of living. Retirees must decide how much risk to their lifestyle they are willing to accept. Folks, that's the conversation right there as well. You've got to be prepared, and the only way to do so is to get rid of any retirement income plan that is projecting high rates of return. It's just not something you want to bet your longevity on. Final few points from Dr. Pfau. Build an integrated strategy to manage various retirement risks. Retirement risks include longevity and unknown planning horizon, market volatility, macroeconomic risk. What the heck is that? Well, that's just the bigger economy. Right? That's Saudi Arabia, messing with the oil supply, inflation, spending shocks that can derail your budget. Each of these risks must be managed by combining different income tools with different relative strengths and weaknesses for addressing each risk. Dr. Pfau says this, and you've heard me say it. There is no single solution that can cover every risk, though some financial products have been marketed that way. That's what I've said 1,000 times and hundreds of times on this show. There's no single product that fixes the retirement income scenario. But there are people who are pitching it. Oh, this is the answer. You got to invest in a diversified basket of investments, and that's your answer. No, it's not. It is not. You have to have an integrated approach to manage various risks. Another pillar from Dr. Pfau, approach retirement income tools with an agnostic view. Agnostic meaning you don't care. It is what it is. It's a financial tool. The financial services profession. And I'm going to read this verbatim from Dr. Pfau because I really love the fact that this is a PhD economist who specializes in retirement income economics. And it's not just little old Kraig who doesn't have a PhD, but he does have a certified financial planner, chartered financial consultant, paralegal, and 21 years of experience. Still, there's something cool about having a PhD completely back you up. Dr. Pfau says this, approach the income tools with an agnostic view. The financial services profession is generally divided between two camps. Those focusing on investment solutions and those focusing on insurance solutions. Both sides have their adherence to, who sees their role from the other side, right? They both see their role on the other side from each other and back and forth. But Dr. Pfau says that his research shows that the most efficient retirement strategies require an integration of both investments and insurance. It is potentially harmful to dismiss subsets of retirement income tools without a thorough investigation of their purported role. In this regard, it is wrong to describe the stock market as a casino or to lump single premium immediate annuities together with every other type of annuity. To not have a better understanding of different annuity products. And it's wrong to dismiss reverse mortgages without any further consideration. Remember what he said in the beginning of this pillar. Be product agnostic. For the two camps in the profession, it is natural to accuse the opposite camp of having conflicts of interest that bias their advice. But each side must reflect on whether their own conflict colors their advice. So think about this, he says. On the insurance side, the natural conflict is that an insurance agent receives commissions for selling insurance products and only needs to meet a requirement that their suggestions are suitable for the client. On the investment side, those charging a percentage of assets they manage naturally wish to make the investment portfolio as large as possible, which is not necessarily in the best interest of their clients who are seeking lifetime income. Meanwhile, those charging hourly fees for planning advice naturally do not wish to make their recommendations so simple that it forgoes the need for an ongoing planning relationship. It is important to overcome these hurdles, to rely carefully on what the math and research shows. Folks, that right there, hear that. It's important to overcome these hurdles, to rely carefully on what the math and research shows. This requires starting from a fundamentally agnostic position. That is where I reside as a financial planner. I'm agnostic. I talk about reverse mortgage, life insurance, investments, all of these things because they all have a role. You cannot have a maximum lifestyle income plan without an integrated approach. I don't simply get paid fees. I don't simply get paid a percentage of investment management. I don't simply get commissions on products. I can do it all. And I believe it's necessary that if I'm going to get a maximum income plan put together, it's got to be integrated. You've got to have it all together. Now, finally, we're going to go on with the last couple of points here. Build a balance sheet. Start with a household balance sheet, Dr. Pfau says. A retirement plan involves more than just financial assets. You've got to understand your income strategy. Now, I'm going to give it my twist. And by the way, if you'd like a link to this entire article, just send me an email, Kraig with a K at kraigstrom.com. I'll shoot you back the link directly to Dr. Pfau's article at his website. Actually, this was at Advisor Times, but I'll send you a link to the article and you can actually read all of it because I'm not going to go through every single section. But Dr. Pfau says, start with a balance sheet. Now, here's my simple take on it. You've got to understand your income assets versus your legacy assets versus your liquidity assets. Liquidity assets are not income assets. Liquidity assets are assets that are held for emergencies and opportunities. Income assets are things like individual retirement accounts and 401ks and things like that. Those are income assets, assets that are set to be taking income from. Your liquidity and cash on hand does not count. If you do not have a reverse mortgage, your house that you live in, regardless of how valuable it is not on your income asset side of your balance sheet. But Dr. Pfau says build a balance sheet. Make sure that you understand what your income assets are, what your various home equities are, what your liabilities are, your fixed expenses, travel expenses, contingent expenses. Go through that for sure. Now, double check yourself as well in the area of this pillar. Distinguish between technical liquidity and true liquidity. Remember what I said, liquid assets, right? Liquid assets, it's an important distinction. You have to understand that the implication from the household balance sheet view is that the nature of liquidity in retirement income plan must be carefully thought of. In a sense, an investment portfolio is a liquid asset. However, some of it is liquidity. Yeah, but it might be an illusion because if you have an investment account that is generating income, you really don't want to tap that as a liquidity asset because that'll affect your income. Clients are free to reallocate their assets in any way they wish, but assets are not truly liquid in an investment portfolio because they must be preserved to meet spending goals. So if you have income assets set up in an investment portfolio, they're not truly liquid because you need those to be there for the income plan. True liquidity emerges when there are excess assets remaining after specifically setting aside what is needed to meet all of the household liabilities. This distinction is important because there could be a case, right, when you're trying, to tie up part of one's assets in something illiquid. So let's think about this. Let's say you're trying to tie up your assets in something that's illiquid, such as a single premium immediate annuity, Dr. Pfau says. This may allow for the household liabilities to be covered more cheaply than could be done when all assets are positioned to provide technical liquidity, right? An investment account is technically liquid, right? But if you put that money into something that is completely illiquid, for example, a single premium immediate annuity, something that pays a guaranteed income that would cover household liabilities and expenses, in simple terms, a single premium immediate annuity pools risk by the insurance company and allows lifetime spending to be met at a cost of 20 years of spending objective, right? Let's say that you've got 20 years of a spending objective while you can't cover that same level of income with a typical investment account. Because risk pooling in single premium immediate annuities, this, by the way, is not a single premium immediate annuity commercial. Dr. Pfau just happens to reference them because in my opinion, I think they are one of those financial tools that gets a bad rap, that people have these preconceived notions, right? They are not agnostic. They said, I've heard negative things about that. Well, yeah, that's the marketing machine that is Wall Street that doesn't like these products. So there is some negative news out there from our friends like Ken Fisher and people like that, and our friends like Big Dave. So This is not a commercial for single premium immediate annuities, but it is so important to hear Dr. Pfau, a PhD economist specializing in retirement income, saying, hey, when you look at a single premium immediate annuity, you're getting a risk pooling financial tool, because risk pooling and mortality credits allow you to set aside less to cover your spending goals. There's now greater true liquidity. Remember, technical liquidity, you might have a bunch of money in an investment account that you want to draw income from, but it's not truly liquid because you can't really take money out of it because you'll hurt your income plan. True liquidity is money that is available that doesn't affect your life. You can spend it. You can consume it. Because single premium immediate annuities through insurance companies use mortality credits and pool large numbers of people in one big risk pool, you can set aside less to cover your spending goals and now end up with greater true liquidity and therefore more to cover other unexpected contingencies without jeopardizing your core spending needs. Liquidity, as it is traditionally defined in the securities market, is of little value as a distinct goal in long-term retirement income planning. That final line from this section is important to repeat. Liquidity, as it is traditionally defined in securities markets, Wall Street, is of little value as a distinct goal in long-term retirement income planning. You must have true liquidity, actual real liquidity. And one of the ways you can do that is by using a financial tool that requires less of your money to generate the income to cover fixed expenses, for example, so that more of your money can be left out as truly liquid. The bottom line, Dr. Pfau says, retirement income planning is a relatively new field that differs from traditional wealth accumulation. The combined impact of retirement risks is that retirees experience reduced capacity to bear financial market risk once they have retired. They also must meet spending goals by taking distributions from their asset base. This calls for more integrated strategies that take into consideration the 8 key pillars that Dr. Pfau presented. All right, that is awesome. Now, of course, I did not cover the whole thing. I would love it if you sent me an email, Kraig@kraigstrom.com, and ask for, and just in the subject line, pillars. Just say pillars or Dr. Pfau report, and I'll send you back the pillars of retirement income planning, the link to the complete article. Read it, folks. Please have an open mind. Make sure that you come into your retirement income decisions with an agnostic perspective. If you come in with a biased perspective, you're basically shooting yourself in the income foot. You will leave income on the table. You will leave legacy on the table. You will leave certain things on the table because you are only getting one side of the retirement income equation. That Wall Street side is going to cut you short. Please send me an email, Kraig@kraigstrom.com. I'll send you back that link. Now, that's going to wrap it up today. Have a Merry Christmas. Hope you're having a happy Hanukkah, happy Festivus, happy whatever holiday you're celebrating. Be safe. Have a great time with family. I will talk to you again in the new year. Take care.
Thank you for listening to the Personal Pension Radio podcast. If you missed anything during the show, that's okay. We took the notes for you. Check the show notes for links, offers, and a full transcript. And don't forget to head over to personalradio.com pre-retirement income report. While you're there, we would appreciate some iTunes love. Please leave us a fantastic rating on iTunes by going to personalpensionradio.com/iTunes. Thanks again for listening. Now for the disclosure. Information presented is for educational purposes only and is not intended for solicitation, sale or purchase of any security or financial product. Be sure to first consult with a qualified financial advisor and your tax professional before implementing any strategy discussed here. The term personal pension refers to a marketing name designed to educate future retirees and retirees about the economic principles behind creating their own pension-like income. The term personal pension is not intended to be confused with a defined benefit pension plan offered by an employer or by a government entity.